out that Browns quarterback Kenny Pickett suffered a hamstring injury late in Saturday's practice. He's, of course, expected to miss time, will be reevaluated later this week. Could be out weeks, but there's no precise timeline. Hamstring injuries, you never want to see those for guys, especially this early. Those are things that tend to linger in the season, so hopefully Kenny Pickett can get ahead of that. But what does this mean for the other quarterbacks? Well, of course, Joe Flacco, maybe now the front runner, if he wasn't already, to be the week 1 starter. But this is a lot for the rookies. You had 4 quarterbacks trying to find ample time to organize team reps. Well, now Dillon Gabriel, who's already taken some first-team reps, will certainly get more. But what does it mean for Shedeur Sanders, who's yet to get first-team reps? Well, we see him third now in that list on the depth chart. Big opportunity for Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel to go ahead and jump up to maybe being that week 1 starter.
I've said for a long time that it's tough to put a ton of stock into the first week of training camp when they're out there in pretty much shorts and t-shirts, throwing on air. You know, it's a lot of installation stuff that goes into those periods. But now that the pads come on, it's a little bit of a reset, right? Like today is almost like the first day of practice in and of itself, because when the pads go on, you really start the competition. So I wonder if Shedeur Sanders gets some time with the ones, not just because the pads are on, but now you take Kenny Pickett out of the equation and maybe things become a little bit clearer. I'll say this, if we get through this entire week and Shedeur Sanders doesn't have time with the ones in the first team, this is no longer a 4-man quarterback competition. I'm pretty close to saying that already. Like the fact that he hasn't had any first-team reps and they're still calling this a 4-man quarterback competition is kind of incorrect, because like you're really saying that Shedeur Sanders has a chance to start week 1 when he's throwing to equipment managers. I just can't see that to be true. The Browns are an organization that you can't put anything past, so I guess it still remains possible. You still have 3 preseasons to go, but I do think now that they're putting the pads on, we'll have a little bit of a clearer view of this 4-man quarterback fiasco.
We're like as close as to locking this in as possible. When they release what happened with his hamstring, if it's anything over grade 1, he's done. I don't see how he's going to be good to start. He won't get enough reps, not enough time. It'll be over. It'll be Flacco. But for the rookies, I don't know. I'm hearing not so good things about certain rookies, guys, and I don't know if we're ever going to get to the point where they're ready to go in such a short amount of time. The reps should go up, but if Joe's going to have to practice more, unless they want to just let the rookies split the whole practice, but. Bad situations for the quarterbacks in Cleveland. Joe Flacco, get ready, buddy.
Guys, I'm a little bit worried about Dillon Gabriel. I just want to put that out there because all the reports after the first 2 practices on Dillon Gabriel were shiny new toy, processing quick. We talked about all the intangibles here on the Big Factor last week. But when you're an undersized, I think it's fair to say, quarterback, and you might not necessarily have all the physicals there at all times, the word I don't want to see over and over again about your passing ability is erratic. That is not a very good word for a 3rd-round quarterback who's not the tallest dude in the world. So I'm starting to get a little bit worried about Dillon, but like you guys said, it's got to be a great chance if you're a Shedeur Sanders fan this week. Like this is what you got to be dreaming of, hoping for a while now.
Bro, he could be QB2 going into the season if Dillon's playing that bad. Like there's actually a window for it to happen, because if it's one of those things where Kenny's going to be out for a month to 2 months or something like that, then it's like if it's just going to be a straight up battle for the backup spot.
Well, the thing remains, Dillon Gabriel's the guy that they wanted all along. You know, that's the 3rd-round pick.
Did they
That's
want him
the
all along in the
94
first
overall
place?
pick. He's the guy that has taken reps with the ones to date. Shedeur Sanders has not. So until that changes, the depth chart is what it is without Kenny Pickett. It's likely Flacco, Gabriel, Sanders as 3, and he was the 4 when Kenny Pickett was healthy.
You know, Andrew Berry talked about when they cut down the roster, those last final 4 spots he views as developmental spots. That could be all 4 quarterbacks. He said it's not out of the range that they keep all 4 of them, but this makes things a little interesting because if their plan was, or they were willing to shop Kenny Pickett,
Dead.
Now that's kind of dead. I don't think anybody's trading for some guy with a hamstring injury.
Dead.
Obviously, we don't know all the details about how severe that is. Well, if he's staying here, you can't really trade Joe Flacco, I would think, unless you're really willing to go out there with just your only 2 options as Dillon Gabriel or Kenny Pickett. And I preface this with saying, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, and I preface this with saying that, again, we don't know how long Kenny Pickett's going to be out. We don't know how long this is going to be lingering, but hamstring injuries are always worrisome.